At Sisu, we take a very scientific approach to making sure our technologically advanced, doctor-developed, scientifically backed, industry-changing mouthguards are the most protective, lightest, talkable, breathable, comfortable, drinkable, removable mouthguards on the planet to guarantee you're protected. No matter what comes your way, the Sisu Next Gen. Sisu, talk, breathe, drink. At Sisu, we take a very scientific approach to making sure our technologically advanced, doctor-developed, scientifically backed, industry-changing mouthguards are the most protective, lightest, talkable, breathable, comfortable, drinkable, removable mouthguards on the planet to guarantee you're protected. No matter what comes your way, the Sisu Next Gen. Sisu, talk, breathe, drink. At Sisu, we take a very scientific approach to making sure our technologically advanced, doctor-developed, scientifically backed, industry-changing mouthguards are the most protective, lightest, talkable, breathable, comfortable, drinkable, removable mouthguards on the planet to guarantee you're protected. No matter what comes your way, the Sisu Next Gen. Sisu, talk, breathe, drink. At Sisu, we take a very scientific approach to making sure our technologically advanced, doctor-developed, scientifically backed, industry-changing mouthguards are the most protective, lightest, talkable, breathable, comfortable, drinkable, removable mouthguards on the planet to guarantee you're protected. No matter what comes your way, the Sisu Next Gen. Sisu, talk, breathe, drink.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing.
At Sisu, we take a very scientific approach to making sure our technologically advanced, doctor-developed, scientifically backed, industry-changing mouthguards are the most protective, lightest, talkable, breathable, comfortable, drinkable, removable mouthguards on the planet to guarantee you're protected. No matter what comes your way, the Sisu Next Gen. Sisu, talk, breathe, drink.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
At Sisu, we take a very scientific approach to making sure our technologically advanced, doctor-developed, scientifically backed, industry-changing mouthguards are the most protective, lightest, talkable, breathable, comfortable, drinkable, removable mouthguards on the planet to guarantee you're protected. No matter what comes your way, the Sisu Next Gen. Sisu, talk, breathe, drink. At Sisu, we take a very scientific approach to making sure our technologically advanced, doctor-developed, scientifically backed, industry-changing mouthguards are the most protective, lightest, talkable, breathable, comfortable, drinkable, removable mouthguards on the planet to guarantee you're protected. No matter what comes your way, the Sisu Next Gen. Sisu, talk, breathe, drink. At Sisu, we take a very scientific approach to making sure our technologically advanced, doctor-developed, scientifically backed, industry-changing mouthguards are the most protective, lightest, talkable, breathable, comfortable, drinkable, removable mouthguards on the planet to guarantee you're protected. No matter what comes your way, the Sisu Next Gen. Sisu, talk, breathe, drink. At Sisu, we take a very scientific approach to making sure our technologically advanced, doctor-developed, scientifically backed, industry-changing mouthguards are the most protective, lightest, talkable, breathable, comfortable, drinkable, remoldable mouthguards on the planet to guarantee you're protected. No matter what comes your way, the Sisu Next Gen. Sisu, talk, breathe, drink. At Sisu, we take a very scientific approach to making sure our technologically advanced, doctor-developed, scientifically backed, industry-changing mouthguards are the most protective, lightest, talkable, breathable, comfortable, drinkable, remoldable mouthguards on the planet to guarantee you're protected. No matter what comes your way, the Sisu Next Gen. Sisu, talk, breathe, drink. At Sisu, we take a very scientific approach to making sure our technologically advanced, doctor-developed, scientifically backed, industry-changing mouthguards are the most protective, lightest, talkable, breathable, comfortable, drinkable, removable mouthguards on the planet to guarantee you're protected. No matter what comes your way, the Sisu Next Gen. Sisu, talk, breathe, drink. At Sisu, we take a very scientific approach to making sure our technologically advanced, doctor-developed, scientifically backed, industry-changing mouthguards are the most protective, lightest, talkable, breathable, comfortable, drinkable, removable mouthguards on the planet to guarantee you're protected. No matter what comes your way, the Sisu Next Gen. Sisu, talk, breathe, drink. At Sisu, we take a very scientific approach to making sure our technologically advanced, doctor-developed, scientifically backed, industry-changing mouthguards are the most protective, lightest, talkable, breathable, comfortable, drinkable, removable mouthguards on the planet to guarantee you're protected. No matter what comes your way, the Sisu Next Gen. Sisu, talk, breathe, drink. At Sisu, we take a very scientific approach to making sure our technologically advanced, doctor-developed, scientifically backed, industry-changing mouthguards are the most protective, lightest, talkable, breathable, comfortable, drinkable, removable mouthguards on the planet to guarantee you're protected. No matter what comes your way, the Sisu Next Gen. Sisu, talk, breathe, drink. At Sisu, we take a very scientific approach to making sure our technologically advanced, doctor-developed, scientifically backed, industry-changing mouthguards are the most protective, lightest, talkable, breathable, comfortable, drinkable, removable mouthguards on the planet to guarantee you're protected. No matter what comes your way, the Sisu Next Gen. Sisu, talk, breathe, drink.
AT, we're live. I'm pretty
Great.
sure you are too. I think we're all live.
Feels so good.
It does feel good. I think everyone can hear everyone this time, but welcome to the show. Finally, we got it live. Finally, we've got it going. I feel like it's going to be a quick one today. We're going to talk a few topics here. First off, we're going to talk about a little bit about the MLL. Then we're going to talk about the early winter games, the Snow Bowl games. We're going to talk about AT's Giants a little bit, and then we're also going to finish up with what we think is going to happen in the ACC. But first things first, as you probably saw from the intro, we are proudly sponsored by Sisu Mouthguards. Witness Evolution. They are the proud sponsors as well with Team USA, US Lacrosse, and unfortunately sponsors of In Your Face Laxcast. But AT, let's start off the show. I wrote a couple tweets the other day. I think it was yesterday. And basically, I think I get a lot of heat from the MLL guys. I think they just turn away and they just kind of give me the weird, deep sighs and eye rolls all the time. But I wanted to be very clear about my argument with the MLL and what's happening in the MLL. It has nothing to do with the players and coaches. It purely has to do with, for the last 15 years, there hasn't been any changes to the structure of the league to help support or an attempt to support full-time players. And I think that had they had taken, and we all can play Monday morning quarterback, had they had taken steps 15 years ago that we all know now that you could absolutely do 5 years ago that we all should have done.
Like what? Give me an example.
Like creating, here's the deal. No one thought how big club lacrosse was going to be that it is today. And why not utilize, much like the MLS does? And it's not the MLS, they always, and everyone who tries to compare the MLS to the MLL, and they're like, well, they have the international game. Fair. And then they've got the Hispanic, communities in these cities that just pump people in the stadium, but they're paying like $3 a ticket. What really comes down to is these people are getting paid because of the academies that they have. The Philadelphia Union have a massive academy, and it's huge, and they're being.
So your complaint is they weren't interlocked proactively from the youth level all the way up to basically put everything under one roof.
Correct, with the resources that they have. They have 24.
Yeah, but didn't soccer just do that a few years ago? I can't remember who that stud. Who was the guy? Who was the stud men's soccer coach at Dartmouth? Jeff
Cook.
Jeff Cook, right? He's a stud. He won 4 to 5 Ivy championships while I was up there coaching lacrosse, and then he left to take over the development of a local youth soccer club in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, I believe. So if that's so new for a sport like soccer, how can you criticize?
They just hired him now. That position was already there. Somebody held that position. They got rid of that person. He filled it. And they're able to pay him a lot more money than he made at Dartmouth. And he got paid well at Dartmouth. Between camp and his salary at Dartmouth, he was getting paid well. But to be able to remove him from a high-pressure environment...
Well is subjective. Well is subjective, right?
Fair. But you can remove him from that environment, put him in an environment where he's coaching, he's getting paid very good money. The thing is look at the 24 kids on the... kids, I shouldn't say that. Guys on the roster, pro MLL roster. You have 24 of the best players in the world.
Yep.
And maybe some of those guys are roster guys. Maybe they aren't the best players in the world, but you sure as hell have 10 of the best.
No. Yeah. Well, I mean, they're the best 120 or they're the best whatever
Correct.
it is, right?
Correct.
They're definitely, yeah.
So use them. Use them. And be able to extract the resources from them to provide an environment where, yes, they're making money in a full-time salary. 2, they're able to train 7 days a week, 365.
So it's
strength and conditioning. They have
Yep.
everything. It's all within that academy. These guys are being provided with everything, and now MLS has taken off to a whole new level where they don't necessarily need the academies. It's just a nice little, you know what I mean? Now it's just like a funnel system.
So I think the clarification is that you're clarifying your position, and really what you're really saying is what all the players want anyway, right? What everybody wants, the players and anybody that really cares about the sport, what they really want are the MLL guys to be able to play just the MLL and be able to survive financially on that.
Correct.
And while you are, in a sense, criticizing the lack of evolution of Major League Lacrosse over the last 15 years, really what it is voicing what you're hopeful it will be able to do in the next 15 years so that we're able to pay these guys ideally 6 figures plus and have it be, a full-time commitment, which, let's face it, is what will make them
even better than they already are.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be able to concentrate full-time on just pro lacrosse, which is going to be which is what we need in order for league to be
successful.
Yeah.
Think about the coaches as well. I mean, they start becoming directors. They're full time, and they get to coach the guys every single day. Don't tell me right now Spolina wouldn't want to coach his boys every single day of the week. I mean, to be able to have those guys at your disposal to run drills and put it on video and show these kids what it looks like at the highest level at all times. I mean, but here's the thing. Coming back to my point is that the dedication to these guys, these MLL guys, to do what they've done by themselves has been impressive. We have had more full-time, and I put that in quotations because I don't really know what you would consider full-time, but let's face it, Paul Rabel is only doing lacrosse. Now, he's got his foundation, he's got X, he's got Y, he's got a bunch of different things in the fire, but you've got more guys that are full-time in lacrosse than certainly when I played. I mean, we probably had about 1 to 2 to maybe 3 guys a team max when I was playing in 06 through 10.
Yeah.
And now from I would say 12 to 16, I would say that's doubled. And that's largely because the guys are on the hustle. They're going around the country, they're doing camps. They're going around the country, they're lifting and they're working out. They're going around the country and they're promoting, self-marketing themselves, redundant statement. But they're doing a great job. and you're constantly hearing on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter about them working out, but they've got a Charlotte Hound shirt on. They've got a Long Island Lizard shirt on. They walk around. They know they're professional athletes, but they got to work so much harder than anyone else in a professional athletic world. And it's largely because of them that the product has become better because they're full-time in it. I just wanted to clarify that because I feel like a lot of guys thought that I think that they're a joke. They're not a joke. And I don't actually think – I think that everyone is is truly in it to make it the right thing, the right product. But – for Dave Gross to step down, this is a massive opportunity for the MLL to take it to new heights. And you can already kind of see the ball rolling with the NLL and what this guy has got in terms of, his vision for the NLL. But I really think that this is a big step forward. And hopefully, whomever makes the decision in the end to hire the next commissioner of the MLL, that they hire the guy with the vision and they start to ask questions because there's a big business out there in lacrosse and they can certainly seize it if they do it the right way.
Right. I think that I think the guy that doesn't get spoken about enough in our sport, who I truly believe should be the lacrosse man of the year, is Jake Steinfeld. I mean,
really?
Think about what he's done, right? Him along with Dave Morrow, those guys basically, put the money up and made the vision happen. Now, there's no question that the players are the product, right?
Yes.
They're the best players in the world. And frankly, they're playing a different game than they played in 2006 when you played.
Yes.
And definitely in 2002 when I played, which was, a long time ago. I can't get over how good the players are. But Jake Steinfeld, I don't know how familiar you are with what he's done with the World Series of Little League Lacrosse.
I don't.
This is so sick, right? They have all these regional play-ins, right? And this was the second year they did it. And they have the regional play-ins. They played the final on ESPN2 and Quint
right,
announced
I do know
it.
about that, yes.
And they held it in Denver Stadium, and it was so unbelievably well organized. And it was held out on those fields out in Denver. And I mean, it felt like pro lacrosse for the youth, 13 and under teams that we coached. And
you were there.
I was there. We coached the Eclipse team that finished, I think, 5th is what we finished, and we had a great team. The guys did a great job. Coached it with Hanford, which made it exciting within itself. But Jake Steinfeld just doesn't get enough credit for, all the sacrifice, all the money, all the resources that he's tapped into, given all the massive success he's had in all of the other areas of his life, and to take such a proactive interest in seeing the sport of lacrosse move ahead and become legitimized, so to speak. That guy, lacrosse world, everybody that cares about the sport really owes him a lot, because he's paved the way for this to become a league that's going to be around, ideally, hopefully forever, till the sun turns out.
I agree, and I think that if there's money to be made in lacrosse, it has to be at the professional world, and I wouldn't want it anyway. I mean, as it is, coaching in itself and coaching high-level lacrosse is very tough to do. And it's also tough to get those positions. It's tough to be a part of that. And for more coaches out there to be a part of high-level coaching in the world of lacrosse, outside of obviously Division 1, 2, and 3 NCAA coaching, to see them also continue it in the pro league is cool too. Switching gears here, Towers. It's currently snowing outside of my place.
Are you in Vermont?
What's that?
Are you in Vermont?
I am not. I'm in Philadelphia. But it feels like Vermont. It's snowing outside. It's been cold as hell.
There's tons of liberals hanging around.
They're all bundled up.
The liberals?
Yes, they're bundled up. And basically, I just don't see. The argument's already starting. Cold weather games. Quint Kesnick's coming onto his show soon enough in his soapbox to complain about the early weather games.
In a turtleneck.
Probably the scarf. Some sort of a camel-colored jacket.
Ascot. Some ascot. Ascot.
And basically, I want to know your opinion right now about the early February games. What are your thoughts?
Who's griping? Those are my thoughts. Who's griping about it, right? If you're a player and you are returning back to campus in January, right, you definitely would rather have practice and strength and conditioning than just strength and conditioning, right?
It's true.
The amount of strength conditioning that these guys do from when they get to school in the fall all the way up until their winter break and they go home, they don't want to come back and dive back into a bunch of strength conditioning and that's it. Right? You didn't get recruited to do strength conditioning. While it's a foundation for what you do, and everybody, obviously is super committed to it, and it gives you, the advantages, blah, 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 blah. The reality is you want to practice. You can't wait to get out to practice, right? Think about it from the coach's standpoint, right? The coaches perpetually feel that they're falling behind all the other programs all the time. I would be willing to bet that Joe Bresci, after celebrating the national championship on Memorial Day last year, went to bed that night thinking, we better get going. 2017
right.
Around the corner, right? And it's just the way they are. They can't sleep during the season, right? So if they're out of season, they definitely can't sleep because they can't go to practice the next day and make up ground on the people that are perceived ahead of them.
That's right.
So they can't wait to get started. The parents, right? They don't want to sit in the cold. But the reality is they'll gladly sit in the cold to go watch a lacrosse game than sit in the warmth and not watch a lacrosse game, right? So they want the season to start. Right? The only people that may have an issue with it are, the fans of these respective programs that play up north, right? If you're playing down south and it's 70 degrees outside, it's not January, it's April, right? And that's the facts. So who's really griping about it? I just don't know. I think that the only con I could see against the early start would simply be the northern teams that have to practice outside, and as a result of those cold conditions, have injuries to their players that are perhaps more intensified due to playing in 20 and 30 degrees rather than inside a bubble or outside in a warmer environment, right? You get slashed on the wrist playing in a bubble or playing outside at 50 degrees, you go get a drink of water, right? You get slashed in the wrist at 15 degrees, you get a shattered arm and you're out for 8 weeks, right? And then your coach gets fired because your team stinks and then he's doing an in-your-face podcast. I don't know. The injuries associated with the cold weather are the only, in my opinion, legitimate gripe that people would have for the early start.
Well, the early games, I mean, it's interesting because the only thing for me, first off, I don't really care about the weather. I don't care about the parents in the stands. Like you said, if I'm a college coach or a college player, I definitely want to be on the field as soon as possible competing against another colored jersey ASAP. But I think that the big gripe is more so for the game, overall game itself. If we're in February, we are also competing with television in terms of conference basketball. We're competing against soon enough March Madness, and we're going to end up competing against March Madness no matter what.
Conference basketball competes with the end of football season. What's the difference? There's always slight overlap every time.
Yeah, but I can guarantee you, though, just in terms of the ratings, that they skyrocket as soon as the NFL goes into playoff time. Because you're only watching, 8 teams or 4 teams, depending on how quick your team gets knocked out, like your Giants pretty soon.
You better hope that the Patriots don't run into the Giants. That's your only chance. That's your only chance.
I want the trilogy. Bring the trilogy. The trilogy is finally when Darth Vader
Jake
finally
Towers
gets
is
killed.
now fully committed to a Giants fan. Unlike that first time when he was in an awkward scenario as a 4-year-old, wouldn't come downstairs because you were coming over to watch the Patriots lose, and they had their 18-0 shirts already made out, which are somewhere overseas being worn by people that
19-0 shirts. 19-0 shirts.
Whatever it is, dude. Now he's fully prepared to dive into the Giants scene that his Raiders lost yesterday, which is too bad. So
he should have kept the Moss jersey. He should have kept the Moss jersey. Hopefully that still fits him. But it's the competition for television. And I think the greatest opportunity for us is to go straight at baseball. Baseball is going to continue to take all of the publicity or all of the viewership if they're going 1 month later than lacrosse is. No one knows about lacrosse because it's literally sandwiched between 8 weeks. Because no one watches lacrosse because they were watching March Madness basketball, which is fair.
You know what the worst moment of the whole year, Ryan, is?
What?
On Memorial Day at about 3:45, when the Division I men's national championship is over, and you're sitting there reflecting on it, and what happens? Softball comes on.
Right.
It's LSU. It's LSU playing Florida, and they're throwing these underhand fastballs, and you think to yourself, everybody tells me I wouldn't be able to hit the ball because it's impossible. They strike out major leaguers with that. It's the same conversation every time. And all I can think about is, yeah, that's true. And I don't keep the conversation going. And I think I would jack that thing out of this.
I think that first off, how about this? Softball gets more of a following than I think any women's sport out there. Number one,
it does, and those are the same.
It's actually a great sport.
Those are the same people that eat at all the fast food restaurants, 2 out of 3 meals each day, 365 days a year. Right, all the same group.
But it's actually a great game. I mean, softball is actually a great game. The ball's always in play. There's a play at first base every time because the field's so small. The chicks are hot. I mean, it's not a bad game at all. I mean, so it's exciting, but look, let's expand our season another 2 to even 3 weeks. I'd argue even more. And now to get to your point, well, if you're going to span the season 3 weeks, you push it off of February, and we can start a March 1st season. That's not a bad thing. It's not a bad problem. Or February 28th, or whatever that last weekend in February is.
No, I like a Feb 1 start for everyone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And no regular season games before March 1. And if you want to play 2 games a week, great. If you want to play 2 games a weekend, like some teams do in prep for the playoffs, that's fine. I think that would make it the most fair. I mean, look, here's the problem, right? If you have, say, the Ivy League schools that start Feb 1st, or northern schools that can't get outside with the same amount of consistency and have the same amount of high quality practices where you can do rides and clears and you can have scrimmages and you can fuse all aspects of the game together because you have a field that is fully available and it's warm enough where the players aren't thinking about their hands, they're thinking about, what their respective role is within each scheme based on which part of the game that you're practicing, right? Mm-hmm. If those teams are only able to have, 3 weeks of quote unquote high quality practices outside, but teams that start right when they get back to school down south are able to have, 7 or 8 weeks of high quality practices. There's a major advantage in the early part of the season for the southern schools when they play the northern schools, because there's a major difference between 7 weeks of high quality practice versus 3 weeks of high quality practice, right?
I agree.
As the season wears on and you start to play in April and then ideally in May, there's not as much of a difference between 16 high quality weeks of practice and 13 high quality weeks of practice. You like how I weave in an extra week there to fuel my argument? So if everybody starts Feb 1st, I think it creates a more even playing field for the cold weather teams. And then no games before March 1st. I just feel like it creates, again, a fairer situation for everyone.
I don't disagree with that. I just think that, on March 1st or just a late February, purely from the standpoint of the exposure for our sport and to just prove that we shouldn't be having the national championship and the semifinals on the same weekend, Memorial Day weekend. And in fact, I would argue that we should start a whole new tradition. I say this over and over on Twitter, that the quarterfinals should start on Memorial Day weekend.
I love that.
And you have all the best teams in the country playing on one weekend.
Yep.
And it's a family weekend. People can go from, if they choose to, it's in a bunch of different regional areas. So they might actually be more willing to, instead of taking one trip 6 hours, taking one trip 2 hours with the family. I think that the quarterfinals would be a better spot for Memorial Day weekend. And then you play 2 weeks from there on out.
I agree 100%. You have the semis the following weekend and the finals the second week of June.
I do.
Well, I think that's good.
Well, here, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to go to a commercial break. This is going to be interesting. See if I can transition to this. This is interesting. But we'll be right back. Maximize your comfort.
At Sisu, we take a very scientific approach to making sure our technologically advanced, doctor-developed, scientifically backed, industry-changing mouthguards are the most protective, lightest, talkable, breathable, comfortable, drinkable, removable mouthguards on the planet to guarantee you're protected. No matter what comes your way, the Sisu Next Gen. Sisu, talk, breathe, drink.
we're back. I guess that was smooth. It looked smooth on my end, so hopefully it was smooth on everyone else's end. So I went to I went to producing school over the last 24 hours.
Better you than I.
AT couldn't get Skype downloaded on his computer.
I went to Golden Tee School and elevated my world home ranking to number 30 from 34, and elevated my world, just anybody that doesn't have a machine, to 176 right now. I'm the top player with a minus 25.6 handicap. I got to go after that. I'd love to throw up a 28 on Sandy Reef, and then a 27 on Ruby Rock, and then send those to my brother and to Eric Schlanger, who are, I think they have fat heads of me playing Golden Tee next to their respective house machines.
That's too funny.
We'll see.
That's too funny. So AT is a Golden Tee player. If Golden Tee ever listens to this podcast, we'd love to have a sponsorship. I'm not a bad player. I've got what's my average handicap against you in 18 holes?
Probably.
Is it a stroke a hole or is 9?
It's a stroke a hole, except for the par threes.
Right.
But you did have a hole in one when you were here last time.
Yes, and it's still probably the best shot on that hole.
And it still gets played. Actually,
yes.
You know what? I upgraded the software to 2017, so your hole in one doesn't longer play in our house.
That's the worst. But I was at one point in Hanover, number 5 in the world at Big Buck Hunter Pro.
Right.
And I knew that because of the national tournaments. It's not global like Golden Tee is, but I invested some time into that game. So the real question though, AT, is what is Tommy Tower's rating at his home game? Because
Tommy,
has a home
I
game.
think Tommy's up to 60 on the home edition.
So he's 30 spots
owners.
back.
He is, which is a long way. We'll say twice as far back. And then I think he's maybe top 500 or 600 in world rankings, fine print. You know, if you're not in the top 200, you're not really a true track ball Aryan.
Or even 250. He's not even close
But
to
you know what?
250.
It's Sunday, RD, and he doesn't have to go to work tomorrow. So I'm willing to bet that he's probably a little distant and weird as it relates to his interactions with his family, as he's focusing on, trying to go really, really low and then send me his score results. And then when I send him his, he acts like he's disinterested because I'm always a little bit better.
That is way too funny. So basically, we're going to go ahead and break down the leagues throughout this January period. At the end of January, we're going to break down our predictions in terms of Tewaaraton finalists. We're going to break down our first team All-American finalists towards the end of January. We are also going to break down our Final Four candidates and potentially maybe even a tournament field. But we're going to break down the ACC right now. And we're going to talk a little ACC. First off, 2016 was a massive awakening for the ACC. No longer is the ACC, in my opinion, the clear-cut best conference in the country. Now, or as deadly, I shouldn't say that. I think they're pretty much still the.
They're still probably the best.
Yes,
they're still probably
the best. But I wouldn't say that any one of those teams scares me any more than any other top team at any other conference in the country either.
Well, they take a hit when they lose Maryland. I don't know why. Yeah, but they took a hit losing them in terms of the quality of that conference. So you've got, in my opinion, probably 5 conferences that stick out as, the best 5. But go ahead.
So let's run them down. You got, in order, based on alphabetical, you've got Duke, UNC, defending national champions, first time since '92. Notre Dame, who's been in the Final Four quite a few times over the last 5 years, can't quite make it in. Syracuse, who is the new add to the ACC and has taken it down twice now. And Virginia. Now, I've given a lot of slack to Virginia over the years. They haven't won a regular season since March 1st of 2014. They have the same amount of ACC wins as High Point does since 2013.
And High Point beat him last year.
Well, that's the one. They've only had one win over the last, 3 years in the ACC, regular season wins. And actually, I think that includes.
And they've played a lot more ACC teams during that time than I
That's
thought.
right. Now the argument always comes in when it's like, whoa, they're the best conference in the country, and there's only 5 teams, and well, that's not necessarily true. There was 6 teams for 2 of those years, and 2. Well, the league is what it is. I mean, look, if you're in the ACC, you're gonna compete with ACC teams. It's just like if you're in the MAC, you're gonna be competing with MAC teams. If you're a MAC school, you compete with MAC teams. It's based on. I mean, if you're a good team, you play against good teams. You should win more than one game over the last 3 years. That's all I'm just gonna say. So that's obviously gonna change with Lars. Now, in terms of how we're gonna predict the ACC. The tournament this year is in Durham, North Carolina, and Duke will be hosting it. In terms of the teams that I see in the Final Four, the ACC, and the team that's going to get knocked out, I have the following. In no particular order. I can get into the order later. But Duke, Notre Dame, Syracuse, and Virginia. I do not think that the returning or the defending national champions make the ACC tournament in 2017.
You're out of your mind, dude.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Listen. This is going to be the Carolina won on heart and offense last year, in my opinion. Carolina going 3-1 in 2016. Right? This is going to be the year where Carolina wins because of their defense, along with their offense, right? It's going to be Metzi's 3rd year, I think. So their offense is going to continue to get better and improve. But I think this is the year where Carolina's defense becomes something that we talk about, arguably the team's strength. You look at, obviously, Stephen Bones Kelly at the X. Mm-hmm. But you've got Pafani, Rolette, you've got Brian Balcom in nets. And I just feel that due to the momentum that they created in 2016, fused with what will be, I think, a dominating face-off group in the middle of the field, they'll get huge consistency out of Balcom. I think he's in line for a first-team All-American season. I really do. And I think that under the guidance of Dave Metzbauer, this offense knows how to control the tempo of games and close games out. Where this team, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, seemed to find a way to unfortunately lose close games at the end of the year, last year's group got over that hump and managed games down the stretch to win those 1 and 2 goal games and ultimately peaked in the national championship, beating an unbelievably strong Maryland team. So I think you're out of your mind, Ryan, with that assessment. I've got Carolina winning the ACC regular season, going 4-0 in league play. Now, whether or not they ultimately win the ACC tournament, I don't know. But I'm calling it right now that Carolina goes 4-0 and wins the ACC regular season championship.
I have them definitely not even making the ACC tournament. Who, AT, doesn't make the tournament? Who plays Penn down in Durham?
It's going to be Duke. Listen. And Duke obviously is one of the best programs in the country, right? They don't need me to juice them up. They know where they are. But they lose too many 4-year starters. They lose the best midfielders in the country in Miles Jones and Deemer Class. 2 guys that were, I believe, 3-time first-team All-Americans. But 2 of the best midfielders in the history of college lacrosse, right? They lose Case Mathias, who's a stud, 4-year starter for them. How quickly does Duke find out who they are? Now, that's not to say that Duke couldn't not make the ACC tournament and still make the NCAA tournament with some super high quality wins out of conference and then go on and win the national championship, because that's what Dino and those guys do, right? That's not to say that. But I just think if the question is who is not going to make the ACC tournament, it's going to be Duke. And it's because they just lose too much of their identity of who they were the last 3-4 years to be able to bounce back with that turnover in roster. You know, they got two real strong attackmen, obviously, in Gooderding and Bruckner. But I just don't think that they are going to be able to beat teams, as they find out who they are in the early part of the year. They got a stud face-off guy back. Kyle Rowe, I think, is a senior this year, and he's awesome.
Yep.
But I just don't think that they're going to be able to get it going fast enough to win. I think that, and we'll talk about it, but I think that Notre Dame is obviously always going to be a very, very strong team defensively. They've got some dynamic players offensively. I don't love their offensive scheme, but they do have PJ Finley at the X, who's proved that he can get it done on a big stage. They got Shane Dawson, the Nets, who's one of the best goaltenders in the country. They got Jerry Burns' defensive scheme, which is consistently the best or one of the, very 2-3 best defenses every year. And even though they lose Landis on the defensive end, who was National Defenseman of the Year and a stud, I just think that they reload always with the scheme. The strength is the scheme. UVA is going to be a different team under this staff, where that has always been a team when Don was coaching them that he would recruit great players and, turn them loose athletically and appeal to and challenge their competitive spirit. And that was a great formula for many, many years. Let's face it, he won 4 national championships and I believe is still the all-time winningest coach in terms of overall victories. And as you said before, last podcast, arguably the best college lacrosse coach of all time. I just think that they take a major step forward knowing Lars and his staff and what they bring to the program. UVA is going to have a plan for every aspect of the game. And it's going to be exciting and fun to watch. And I think what it's going to do is it's going to allow the talent that they've assembled, that Dom and his staff assembled, to come together and be better as a group than they are as individuals. And unfortunately, for Virginia, they played as individuals the last few years. And it's easy for me to say that. I don't go to their practices. I'm just a podcast guy. But the reality is they haven't been better as a group than they've been as individuals. And I think that that's what Lars Tiffany and his staff do such a fantastic job of. And that's going to be scary for the rest of the ACC teams. And that's why I see Virginia beating Duke this year. Syracuse also loses a ton of O. They lose Donahue. They in company on the offensive end, he's a stud. And they lose Mullins on the defensive end. But they return Ben Williams, who at times was the very best face-off guy in the country, and certainly one of the very best returning guys. But I just think that
they lose Derek DeJoe as well.
Yeah, they do. But to me, they don't lose as much of their identity as Duke does, and I just feel that Syracuse is going to be a little farther ahead when it comes time, and I think that Syracuse is going to beat Duke. So I've got it finishing UNC going 4-0, Notre Dame going 3-1, UVA 2-2, Syracuse 1-3, and I got Duke going 0-4 and just missing the 2017 ACC tournament.
I look at Duke as a program, and I do agree. What are they going to be? And they're always asking what kind of a Duke team we're going to see early on in the season, what type of Duke team we're going to see later on in the season. I think outside of Deemer class, I think Duke. What is it? Addition by subtraction. I think that for Duke, losing some of those guys is a positive for Duke.
It could be.
Like a big positive, like a very big positive.
I think they'd rather have Miles Jones and Deemer class for year 5 though than not.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I think the Deemer class together, if you could only have them together, then yes. But if you could take one or the other, I would take only one of them. I'd take Deemer.
Well, that's if you can only take one or the other and you only take one of them, that's good coaching. If you can only take one or the other, then you're going to take one of them.
Well, yeah, that's good math. It's really good math.
Yeah,
I'm only going to take one. I just saw a Duke team last year handing a ball to a guy that is not a guy that can take over. He's just not a guy that can take over games for you. And
I think he is a guy that can. Miles Jones, right?
No, I don't think he can at all. He's proven he can't. He gets tired at the end of the games.
I think that's the issue. The issue is not whether or not he can take the game over. He did take the game over many times, right? But the problem is that he just ran out of steam, seemingly down the stretch of the season. And I think your point is they became a one-dimensional team.
Yes. And
the ball ended up in Miles Jones' stick.
It's not the.
It seemed like the whole time.
Right.
I mean, it's great if it's going to be in there for him to initiate the offense. It's great if they don't depend on him seemingly 100% of the time. Right. Now I'm getting reports that they can hear me, but they can't hear you. So check that out.
I don't know why. I'm on. I'm firing off cylinders. I just got one too, but I mean, there's nothing we could do at this point. So, yeah, I just think that in general, I think Duke becomes a better team. I think they go back to their fundamentals in square one. I think that they start to really kind of build a foundation. I think they're going to be garbage in the beginning of the year, but I think
they already have the foundation, though. I mean, that's one of the best things that Dino and his staff do. I think that the culture and the foundation based on fundamentals and how hard they play, I think Duke is as strong as any program in the country that way. And I think Notre Dame's that way. And I think Carolina's now that way.
Right.
And, I think that's in place. It's just who are going to be their guys. There's no question that guys are going to emerge and they're going to be guys that we're talking about in April and May as, first team All-Americans. I don't have a doubt about that. I just think that it's not going to happen in time for them to win. I just don't think, because I just think the turnover is too much. But I don't know. Go ahead.
No, we're going to take a quick break right now. We're going to come back, and I have a hashtag Ask Towers for everyone. Oh, no. I did not tell AT in this pre-production meeting that we.
I hope it's not the Needham Needler. I hope it's not the Needham Needler.
No, it's not. It's not.
Good.
It's not.
Good. He's probably licking his wounds from picking the Raiders and the Lions last night. Not smart.
That is brutal.
Yeah.
But we'll be right back. In the meantime, maximize your comfort. Wait for the hashtag Ask Towers.
At Sisu, we take a very scientific approach to making sure our technologically advanced, doctor-developed, scientifically backed, industry-changing mouthguards are the most protective, lightest, talkable, breathable, comfortable, drinkable, removable mouthguards on the planet to guarantee you're protected. No matter what comes your way, the Sisu Next Gen. Sisu, talk, breathe, drink. At Sisu, we take a very scientific approach to making sure our technologically advanced, doctor-developed, scientifically backed, industry-changing mouthguards are the most protective, lightest, talkable, breathable, comfortable, drinkable, removable mouthguards on the planet to guarantee you're protected. No matter what comes your way, the Sisu Next Gen. Sisu, talk, breathe, drink.
All right, we're back, and we should be live, and that was another smooth transition there, AT.
Nice job.
Yeah, I try my best. But I have a hashtag Ask Towers. I did not prep you for this at all. I am nervous about this.
Danger.
I'm very nervous about this.
Did it come from the Needham Needler?
No, they all come from a man named Stephen Griselfi.
Oh, no. You know what about Steve is he was the second best table hockey player that lived in Providence, which is a huge honor. I'd like to throw that honor back to him.
Nice.
He was the second best foosball player in the area. He was the second best player at a game called Rampart, which is where it was based in like the 1500s and you would bomb villages. And he and I used to go after class, not instead of class, Ryan, down to the small arcade underneath the Blue Room there in Providence. And he routinely finished second. I won't tell who's first, but I just would like to congratulate him. He's always been a red ribbon guy.
That's awesome. So he's got 3 questions. Again, I'm very, very, very nervous. We're live on this.
Okay.
If you're going to have to pass off the question, it's going to be embarrassing because at least on our podcast, I just edited it out.
Right.
But here it goes. This is the second question he asked.
Okay.
I'm kind of afraid of the first one. But what's the most embarrassing thing that you've ever bought from Store 24 on Thayer Street?
Oof. I honestly gotta say I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
He said there were a few magazines you might have taken out at that time.
You mean like 3 for $9.99? I was buying them for a friend. Listen. There was a few 3 for $9.99s that got purchased because, again, I was playing this guy in table hockey and he finished second. It was a disaster, so I had to buy him something to chipper his spirits up, and so I bought him 3 for $9.99. I mean, he couldn't buy it himself, so I bought it. So that would probably have to be the most embarrassing group of publications that I bought. But they were for a friend, Ryan. They were for a friend.
Right. They're for a friend, always for a friend. All right, and then this one, I'm so nervous.
The titles of those magazines, I'll tell you get some classy publications.
He mentioned a few of them in the email.
I can't imagine like going to being like, Dad, I got a great idea for a publication. I'm going to start a magazine. Great, son. What's it called? I can't even. It's a family show. Right?
He mentioned something about you in Vermont and a dumpster and a swarm of bees.
Yeah. I could.
Is that as far as we're gonna go, or?
Well, yeah. There was a situation with a friend of mine, Sam Jackson, who played lacrosse with me at Brown. We went on our pledge trip up to UNH, and I'm not going to give too many details. I'm simply going to say that the police were looking for us one morning, and they drove into the parking lot, and Sam and I were there, and we took off. And this was in downtown Durham, about 1990, and we took off through the woods and came out the back of this parking lot and thought we had lost the police. Well, little did we realize that the police were surrounded us. So 2 cop cars come barreling into the parking lot, and we run through another part of the woods, and out come in the back of this sorority house. So we go up the fire escape, and we open this door, and we go into the sorority house, and there's a guy and a girl in there, and it was like Saturday morning, and they were, sleeping, and they were like, what the hell's going on? And we were like, we're being chased. And so some like sorority mother, whoever it was, like knocked on the door, and they were like, I saw those two guys run up the fire escape, get them out of here. So Sam and I shot down the fire escape, and of course cop cars were buzzing around looking for us. And so we jump in this dumpster behind the sorority house. We were just going to ride it out, right? We'll jump in the dumpster, they're going to find us, we'll sit here, no problem. And it would have been a great plan, except that there was 75,000 bumblebees flying around. And I don't know whether it was Sam or it was myself, but we kind of looked at each other. I was like, I can't take it. Jumped out of the dumpster, ran across the street. And to make a long story short, we ended up getting caught by the police. I left out some of the color.
Yeah.
It's a family show. I don't want to send the wrong message to the kids, right? In the future, if you don't want to get stung by bees and the police pull in, just speak to the police politely. That was the lesson I learned. That's what I do now at 48. I don't jump in dumpsters, otherwise it could be bees.
That's too funny. So the last one, or should we just should we kick it there? Should probably kick it there. I'm a little.
Well, I want to kick it there, Ryan.
All right, we're just going to end the show. Again, if you can't hear me, because we are getting feedback from one person, but we've gotten other feedback that we are getting audio. So who knows? But this is our first attempt at YouTube Live.
Scott Hensley, you're the man, though. Love the shout out.
Appreciate it. Very much appreciate the heads up. In the meantime, check us out on Facebook at In Your Face Lax.
I thought we were going to talk about the Giants quick.
Oh, no, the Giants, we're going to talk about it when the trilogy.
You know what? I'll send you a banner when the Patriots lose and the Giants win the Super Bowl.
Wow. I'm coming to Connecticut to I can't not come at this point, because if I do or I don't, it'll look bad. So I'm coming to Connecticut for the Super Bowl. Sure. But we are signing off here. I appreciate everything. Thank you so much. Again, check us out on YouTube at In Your Face Lax, Twitter In Your Face Lax, Facebook In Your Face Lax. We even have a Snapchat handle. Nothing is posted. We're getting into this. Exciting things coming up. We're going to be at the U.S. Lacrosse Convention with Sisu Mouthguards and Lacrosse All-Stars. We'll be in a booth. We're going to do an hour show. Not sure when that is, but we'll keep you updated as it goes. But thank you so much for Sisu Mouthguards for sponsoring us. Thank you for everyone else out there for enjoying and watching the show. If you didn't enjoy it, please give us feedback. But until then, we'll see you next week.
For Solfi, work on your table hockey game.